All right, folks, hello. This is what we're going to be talking about today, about instincts and about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So I'm just going to wait a couple minutes or a few seconds anyway, till some folks join. Feel free to let me know in the comments where you're from, because that's always fun to find out. And we'll get started here in a moment. All right, there we are. There I am. Hi, this is Heath again, Heath Davis Havlick from Dearly Beloved Personal Discovery Programs. And I am going to be talking today about something cool. I always try to talk about something cool, but this is really important for all human beings, and it applies to all human beings. So that's why it's so cool. So we're going to be talking about the 3 basic instincts that really run your life and how to notice them and how they show up in the world. It's helpful if you know about the Enneagram. I'll talk about that a little bit. If you don't know the Enneagram, I highly recommend that you learn it. It is available through multiple books these days. You can also go to EnneagramInstitute.com. Enneagram is spelled ENNEAGRAM, like on the hashtag for the title of this broadcast. So again, my name is Heath, and I'm glad you're here, and let's have a look at what's going on with the instincts. So, all human beings have a lot of different instincts, all kinds of them, but there are 3 that are really predominant. So those are the ones I'm going to talk about today. And they are the social, the sexual, and the self-preservation instincts. So every person has all 3 of those, and one of them is predominant. So it's the one that you're most focused on. In fact, as it turns out, it's the one that you focus a little bit too much on and puts your life out of balance a little bit. So let's have a look again at this lovely, colorful pyramid, which is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Abraham Maslow, one of the really, founding pioneers of modern psychology. At last, my intro to psychology class years ago in college has paid off. So let's take a look at that again. Okay. So you'll see that at the bottom, we've got the physiological needs, and then we go up to safety needs, love and belonging needs, esteem, and then self-actualization. And I believe that actually it was Maslow who popularized that term of self-actualization, which just means becoming your actual self. It's, not really a hippie phrase, a new agey phrase. It just means becoming who you really were meant to be, and being able to ask the bigger questions of life. Who am I? Why am I here? What's my destiny? That sort of thing, which is what I'm all about. Because you've been able to meet these other needs. Okay. So let's talk about the first one. Okay. So we're looking at physiological, and that is what I correlate with the self-preservation type. Okay, so people who have self-preservation as their dominant instinct in their life are people who are going to be really focused on getting physical needs met. However, it plays out in very different ways among the different Enneagram personality types. So for instance, I am a type 7 personality, but I am a self-preservation dominant person as well. So for me, how that plays out is I am always thinking about if I have enough food and water with me. I used to always make sure in my purse before I left, oh, do I have several snacks, and do I have a full jar of water with me? Is it going to be cold? Am I going to need an extra jacket? All those sorts of things, because 7s always want to be comfortable and happy. All right, but how it plays out for a type 6, for instance, if they're a self-preservation dominant person, is they'll want to make sure that all the bills are paid on time. They will want to make sure that they've got, like a security system installed and things of that nature. Very practical, down-to-earth, safety-oriented things are what they're really focused on. Okay. All right. So let's look then at the pyramid again. My lovely little visual aid. And now we're looking at safety issues. Okay. So safety is, there's other words to talk about this, but it's more about, making sure that you have a house, a place to live, that you, and it's really also, I mean, people would think that that was physiological, but what's listed as safety here, there's a better term for it. It has more to do with the social instinct. So social oriented people who are social dominant, they're very focused on how they fit within the group, within a larger context. And so that's why it has to do with safety and security. It's how do I fit into the group so that we can share resources or help defend each other, that kind of thing. And it's not always at that literal a level. As I said, depending on what personality type you have, it varies. So for instance, a social one will take that one impulse of always being good and doing good and channel that social impulse into social causes, right? Or groups, things that they can support and get behind and be good and do good in. Okay. Whereas a social 7 is very different. A social 7 will want to have a lot of friends and go out and be doing things all the time, kind of those people who never stop and just have a huge social circle. So those two, as you can see, they show up quite differently. All right. And so that's the gist of what it means to have a social dominant personality. Okay. So now we get to the next place here. The yellow stripe, which is love and belonging, okay? And that correlates to the sexual instinct. So that's sometimes taken wrongly. I have a friend who said, "Oh, I want to be a sexual type," because, of course that sounds so, exciting. But what it really means is that these people are most focused on connection and intimacy. Yes, but also that sexual impulse is also very strong. It's libidinal. It comes from the gut and it comes up, and it wants expression in movement, in going out into the world. And so a lot of explorers in the world and entrepreneurs are people who literally or metaphorically break new ground because they've got this really intense energy going on inside them. Okay. So let's see, let's get some examples. So for a sexual 4, for instance, if you're an Enneagram type 4, and if you are a sexual 4, then you are really super focused on, your one intimate relationship. Okay. And that is just the primary thing in your life. However, if you're a sexual 3, your whole focus is making yourself attractive and fulfilling the image of what you have decided, your brain has decided is desirable in the world to the largest group of people. And so that's what you strive to become all the time. So these are, sort of the Barbies and Kens of the world, the people who really try hard to meet all of the physical requirements for our society, okay, whatever our society dictates. So you see those two again show up very differently in the world, but it's that same impulse. It just gets filtered differently through whichever personality type you have. Okay, so now if you look, there's this self-esteem layer here, the green, and what scientists have discovered after actually not that many years, only about 10 or 15 years of study, is that self-esteem is actually not that big of a deal. We don't actually need it as much as people used to think. You'd think it would be sort of a no-brainer that we need to feel good about ourselves, etc. But there's been a ton of research showing that that's not even actually true. So I would just take that one whole out. And then the top, as you see, this blue one here is self-actualization, and that's the point where we're trying to get to, and that's why I do these podcasts. Scopes. broadcasts. And that's why I have my blog. That's why I created my business. That's why I do all of the things that I do, because I want people to understand who they are, what's, who they're not, what's sort of controlling their behavior behind the scenes, so they can become aware of it, because awareness is power. The more awareness you have about what's going on behind the scenes, the more freedom you're going to get, because you're not going to be running on autopilot anymore. You're not just going to be following your instinct script or your personality script. Okay, you get actually more free will, and then you can step into your destiny and give God the most glory with your life. So that's the three main instincts in a nutshell. We all have all three. Here's something even cooler, I think, though, and that is that there is something called the instinctual stack, as taught by the Enneagram Institute, which is what the body that I'm getting certification through, actually. So there is one instinct that dominates, and then there's a second one that you can kind of fall back on and play in a little bit. And then there's a third that is called the blind spot, that you tend to neglect, not really pay enough attention to, and it's the one that's hardest for you. So let me give you an example from my own life. I am a self-preservation 7. My second instinct that I kind of lean back on and have a little fun with is my social instinct. And then, it's the sexual instinct, where everything is fascinating and interesting and amazing. And then the one that is my blind spot actually is the social. So even though I am a 7 and I'm an assertive type, I can definitely be wallflowerish. And I certainly was to a much bigger degree when I was younger. And knowing that is the case helps me understand so much about myself. And I'm like, oh, that's why I don't want to go into social situations where I don't know anyone. That's why I feel paralyzed and just want to stand against a wall, Oh, that's why I have a hard time returning phone calls. Oh, that's why I just want to hang out in my house. Another thing about self-preservation dominant types is that they are kind of nesters. They like to just go into their own place, kind of feather that nest with the things that make them feel comfortable and homey, and just stay there. So I need to be aware of that and sort of fight that impulse and be willing to go out into the world more. It's a really excellent thing to know about how my wiring currently is wired. It can be changed to a certain degree, and that's the wonder, the magic, the beauty of self-awareness, and particularly about the Enneagram. So again, I recommend that you definitely look into that model of human behavior. So you can do that at enneagraminstitute.com. They used to have an amazing instinctual stack test, and they will have it again. They're in the midst of redoing their website as of this broadcast, and so they have the Enneagram typing test available, but they don't have the instincts one, as of today. So that's one thing that you can do. You can also read more at my blog, uncoverydiscovery.com. I talk about the Enneagram. I talk about mindfulness. I talk about self-awareness, a lot of those things. And I talk about all of them through the lens of my Christian faith. I've been following Jesus for more than 40 years, and I have been studying the Enneagram and instincts and that sort of thing as well, human behavior, for more than 10 years. So I hope that the things that I'm writing are really useful for people. They seem to be, from the feedback that I get. You can also reach out to me on Twitter if you have a question, or on Facebook as well. It's Dearly Beloved Programs, if you want to go there and join the community there and see what's going on, and add in your knowledge and experience as well. We all learn from each other. So that's it for now, and blessings on your journey. See you next time.